Nice. All right. Cheeky best of 3 here. Second match of the day for us on the C stream. Joined, of course, by none other than Rickard Mechanics, sort of Bergman.
Yes, a man of many names.
A man of many names and a man of a lot of knowledge and wisdom as well. Romanticize, Ricky. Tell me what you know about this map.
It's one where usually Zergs end up feeling more inclined to play longer games. Like, it's not super short rush distance, there's not any queen walks you can do. You can do the taxi, but I feel like this is one of the better maps for defending the taxi on, in general. So usually what ends up happening is, if the Protoss decide to go the Void Ray route, it usually ends up being something like a 4-base Hardabane timing, right? On the 4th base. And if that doesn't work, or if the Protoss decide to take the other base and play more defensive, then usually Zergs try to go into the late game. It's not a bad swarm host map if we don't see Stargates, so it really depends what Cyan is gonna open up with here.
Yeah. Of course, the swarm host, if you can break through the rocks, you have that area behind the minerals where the swarm host are basically shooting their locust out for free. They can also go below the natural, where there's a really... It's kind of tricky to hold, especially if you're initially defending with Archons. Your Archons will get stuck behind your Cyber Core. But yeah, you were mentioning earlier those... the alternative 4th base, basically, and that's going to be the more... I guess it's more of a line, or more in line with that... with the main base.
Yeah, it gives you less map presence, right? Because you're more tucked into your corner, but it's way easier to defend. So if you're somebody like we talked about, Cyan likes to play late game with carriers and stuff like that. So if he's looking to do that, he's probably just going to take the space and try to power up a bit on 4 base. Whereas usually, like, if you're looking to play more of a ground style, then the other base is a bit nicer because you're already in the middle of the map. It's easier to push from there.
Yeah. Also, things like lurkers are a little bit easier to defend in that way, right? Because imagine having to take like we can't see it too clearly right now because the map is rather dark because of the pause. But yeah, there's definitely some good lurker positions there. Usually when they take the line 4th base, afterwards they go for the rich Vespine geyser base in the middle. And once TOS actually gets that, you have a pretty clear push out path. You can mine the minerals downstairs. It's easy to defend. I always feel like on 4 bases there's some initial things that kind of suck about having that left side base, but then once you get that rich Vespine geyser base up, that position is so comfortable for the Protoss to play from, and you almost kind of deny that bottom left side with it. And so you're forcing way more of a split map scenario already than if you're expanding to the right, where sometimes it can be hard to eventually take that middle map. But let's just see if we can actually get there, as we are opening up with a warp gate first here into a Stargate. Okay.
Yeah. So we should probably see a Stalker second unit here, I assume. Yes.
Yeah.
Because if you're going warp gate first, the entire point is to hide the Stargate, right? Otherwise, there's no reason to. Warp gate before Stargate.
Not entirely true.
Really?
Well, yeah, because there are certain follow-ups where if you play the fast warp gate, you're going to be able to get a way tighter timing with some glaive timings from Stargate. Especially with lower gateways. This is not quite the case if you follow with 4 or 5 gateways, but if you do 2 or 3 gateway glaive timings, they can be way tighter and really hit, whatever warp gate timing you decide to delay. You can hit like 10-12 seconds faster by getting that fast warp gate. Does force you to cut a couple of workers, but should be fine. It's probably not what we're going to be seeing, though, as it is indeed Adept Stalker, and we see the first Oracle already on the way. He's faking this extremely well, by the way. He starts the next Adept at the proper time. The second gateway was extremely fast as well. Yeah. I'm a bit surprised he shows the second pylon on the low ground like this, but I can.
Ooh,
yeah, right. That is a tell if you're Scarlett.
Yeah, for sure. And she also saw the Oracle with the links. Usually, like when you go for this sort of target, you would rally the Oracle like way around the map, right? Because the entire idea is coming to the other side of the map unnoticed. Because this is quite a lot later than the normal Oracle timing.
I think he could have jumped in and gotten 1 or 2 workers, but didn't want to risk more damage on the Oracle. He's now gonna hop back home as we see a Void Ray follow up. He's opening up with a triple unit 3rd base. We've seen players, and when I say players, I mainly mean Zest and Trap, who've been very careful at getting too many gateway units while playing something like double Stargate, because they don't want to delay their extra Stargates. What? third, fourth gateway.
This is something I haven't seen before, to be honest. He's also doing the 4 adept move out. This was like very popular like a year ago in Korea. Like the 2 Stargate units into 4 adept pressure. But something we haven't seen in a while. It's a bit of a throwback.
Yeah, so the reason we're so surprised is that we see the gateways before the twilight, which means that this push is going to, if it's going to hit at some point, it's going to hit rather late. Because the glaive just won't be done. This looks like a 4-gate glaive, but the timing is going to be a 4-gate glaive at fastest can hit around 535, especially with Warp Gate first, double Stargate unit, which is exactly what he's playing. This is not going to be that timing. He's going to be hitting a solid minute later.
Yeah, this is kind of thing where if the Scarlett just plays 66 drones and then starts making units, she'll be fine, right? Like, the timing is just gonna be a bit off. So
yeah,
I'm not exactly sure what the plan is here. Maybe he's expecting Scarlett to go into like Hydra.
Yeah.
If you go straight into like Hydra Bane, then this could be good. But
this is good. If this is straight Hydra, then you're gonna hit kind of late, but because you get your gate so early, you have like slightly faster extra adepts, and you're gonna hit like an absolute, like a freaking brick, like a freaking bag of bricks, or like a container of bricks just dumped into your Hydras. Like, it's actually insane because they trade so well against Hydras, but that's the absolute opposite of what happens against the Roaches. And Scarlett kind of knows that something is going on. She isn't quite sure what, so she's a bunch of adepts now and just starts Roach production. Yeah, this is hitting way too late, in my opinion, for it to really do anything. Loses the Oracle as well. We have a Link run by setup already on the left side, and there's no battery in the third base yet.
Ooh. Yeah, this could do a lot if he doesn't have Warp Units ready right now. Just have 2. Works him in a good position too. Yeah, very strange. He's going back into 2 Stargate now. So I'm assuming he's probably gonna go Disruptor from here, right? That would make more sense than trying to go into Storm Charge from this Adept opening. Yeah, so there's the Robo Bay. And Scarlett was very confused, I think, because she didn't get any tech structure. She was just making roaches on 3 bases, no 4th base.
Yeah, that's not the only thing. We're also not seeing an Evo chamber. So
yeah,
this is super. She's 75 worker.
Yeah.
Did she think she already had a 4th base?
I think she was just very confused this game, to be honest. Yeah. Maybe she was. Yeah, I am actually not sure exactly what was happening here. It's a bit of a mystery. But anyway, Cyan is going into the more recent style of playing Voider into Disruptor instead of Voider into Storm. Which I think in general is a bit safer, but it sets you up a little bit worse for the late game, right?
Yeah.
Just basically very little pressure you can actually put on the Zerg, and you don't actually want the Disruptor Colossus in your late game army, whereas you do want Storm. So you kind of delay your ultimate composition, but you get there a bit more safely.
Yeah, no, I definitely do agree. He's even playing with double Robo, which is
I mean, it's pretty good for him, to be honest, because Scarlett is just making Roach Hydra, no Infestation Pit, no Spire, no nothing, right? And Disruptors are extremely good, I think, versus just pure Roach Hydra.
Colossus, though. I haven't seen that.
Unique.
This is new. Or old. Either really old, we're talking Wings of Liberty, or very, very new, and we're talking last week. Hydra Roach Pusher moving forward. Man, she has so much supply. Like, this.
But there's actually no need for him to hold his 4th tier.
Agree.
Like, this is unupgraded Roach Hydra with no Hive on the way. She just got her 4th base up.
Good splits though, huh?
Yeah.
Couple of decent splits as we see Scarlett still trying to push forward, but with the Colossal, with the super battery, I'm not sure if this is going to end up working. Somehow, some way, Cyan also managed to sneak in +1 and charge. He has a gateway count of 8, and honestly, this is looking pretty bad for Scarlett right now, who kind of overcommitted after denying that 4th base. Right now, she's getting the Infestation Pit. She's trying to get extra gases on the 4th base, but she's losing so freaking much here, and resources lost kind of tells the tale of what happened in the past minute. It was 190 supply against 110. Now it's 130 against 120. So Scarlett lost 60 supply and Cyan gained like 10 supply. That's not quite what you want if you're Scarlett.
Yeah, like that was a very, very committed attack from Scarlett. Like not even 75 drones. Like no upgrades, no tech behind it. Like she was very committed to actually like killing him there, more or less. And like now, she's probably not gonna die right away, but before she has any other tech units out, like any Vipers come out or any Lurkers or anything like that comes out, Cyan is gonna have a 200 supply army that's gonna be very, very hard to deal with.
And it's gonna look ridiculous as well. It's the type of army you're gonna see in a circus. It's gonna consist of 3 Colossi, like 4 or 5 Void Rays, charge lots, and like he's gonna go into Templar as well, I can only assume. But yeah, the way this is supposed to be, ideally you have your Vipers way faster if your opponent's playing double Robo and the other guy's getting his Templar, right? And that's not going to be the case here. We see 2 extra Evos being added. This could just be for Viper energy, but it could also be for actually trying to get into those heavier upgrades and eventually transitioning maybe into ground. Lurker then is going down. Scarlett realizing she needs to get some type of defense and she needs to get it fast. That Lurker then is delayed. It's way too late, no? It's supposed to go down the same time as the Hive.
Yeah, there's 4 Colossus here, and I have no idea what in Scarlett's army actually kills 4 Colossus.
I heard the Queen is pretty good.
Even the Queen might not be able to do this, I think. But yeah, that's usually like the thing. Like when you go for this sort of timing style versus the Void Ray builds, it's usually like you have one timing, right, where you either deny the 4th base and then you just instantly go home and macro up, right, or you're committing to killing, right? And Scarlett kind of went middle of the road. She denied the 4th base, but couldn't really kill him. But she didn't really tech up fast enough, and this is gonna be so hard for Scarlett to win.
Yeah, she has a very good angle. Disruptor shots are hitting big this time around as well, though. Did the Prism is still alive, and I think with the angle she might actually be fine. There is no Templar here in this army remaining. So if these Vipers get some energy, maybe she can do something. But this is a pure Hydra army at this point. Once the Queens stop tanking this, like they're gonna fall so freaking fast.
A nice attack on the Disruptor, but there's just too many big units here for Scarlett to deal with if just Hydras.
Yeah, it does seem to be that way as this fort base is starting to get targeted down. Drones managed to get evacuated though. Perhaps she can force Cyan to go back home and be like, hey, you know what? You killed this base. Good job, buddy. Now let's go home and let me try to get a couple of Lurkers out. Because don't forget, if you can get some Lurkers out, I don't think there's... Oh no, there actually is some detection here. There's a single observer. But Lurker plus Viper, if there's no Templar, can be good enough. Maybe not going into a longer later game, but should be good enough for at least a temporary hold.
The thing is that Colossus though versus Lurkers without the range upgrade, it's actually like not that bad for the Colossus, right? Like they're gonna outrange them by a lot. But yeah, like the more important part is the Viper, I think.
Yeah, if there's a Viper with it, I mean, like he can't really poke from a distance, right? As long as he doesn't have Templar with it, but he can just warp in Templar as well. Maybe I'm being a little bit too hopeful here for Scarlett. She does.
Yeah, now she does have a Hive. She has 80 drones, and it's not like Cyan was really taking up behind this, right? Like he was actually committing a bit to putting some pressure on here, but he's still in a very good spot. But Scarlett got some time to kind of recover, and now she does have Vipers, so maybe she can actually do something here in the next fight.
Ooh, no feedback there coming out of Cyan. He did not have the vision on the high ground that was necessary. Is there spines? No, there's no spines. The Zealot run by potentially could do something. Except we see some heavy signaling here coming out of Cyan. It's like, hey, my Zealots are on creep. Do you want to do something about it? He shows it for 10-15 seconds and then goes in after that. That doesn't quite seem to be the optimal play. Does manage to save some of them, but I feel like that could have potentially done a lot of damage and definitely not going to be the case right now. We see seismic spines being researched, and once that finishes up, Scarlett could actually be heading into a late game. Now she's still in a pretty terrible position. Her creep spread is awful.
Actually, I don't mind her position anymore because Cyan isn't going into the carriers here as I think he should. He's getting a bigger ground army, and if let's say Scarlett gets out like 12, 13, 14 Lurkers, like she's gonna have a lot of window where she can do a lot, right? Because this army that Cyan has does nothing versus high Lurker counts with upgrades.
There's double Robo though. There's a lot of Templar. He has good ground upgrades as well, and there's still these Void Rays. I mean,
yeah, like, well, I would like to see him get an Oracle at least.
Yeah, definitely. He's gonna try to go for a break here. Blinding Cloud is actually helping out at least a little bit. Oh my god, she feedbacks.
I was gonna say that's
Viper. Yeah, that's never a good play. That's inviting the devil in your home right there. There's the Prism. Is also the devil. He didn't get the invite, but he took the back door. warps in a couple of zealots, gets a bunch of drone kills as well right now, and there's just not enough lurkers here at the front. I agreed with you, by the way, that if she does get up to 12, 13 lurkers, she's probably going to be able to play a longer game, but I was kind of afraid that something like this would happen before she gets there. She didn't quite have spines at every base, or at least not enough spines. Her creep spread is mediocre, and I mean, there's so many storms here. There's so much big damage output out of this army. There's not a single weak unit in this army, you know. It's not like there's an army consisting of 50 banelings or 50 zealots against 10 banelings. No, this is high DPS, high test, and no creep. It's just going to be very, very difficult here for Scarlett to keep these outside bases alive, and that's exactly what we're seeing happen here.
Yeah. At this point, she just lost too much economy. Like, she got a decent army, but like, she needs to be able to do something on the other side of the map as well once she actually stabilizes again. And with no economy behind it, it's just so hard to keep this going for too long. As you have to keep dealing with zealot run-bys as soon as you want to move out. So.
Yeah. There is actually one opportunity here for Scarlett, and this is going to sound dumb, but lurkers, if they get in a position offensively, and she manages to take out the prism, so what she needs to do is she needs to take out the prism, then push back opponent's army and get up to like 18, 19 lurkers, and then ideally move somewhere close to the fort base. It is possible that then she can do something, but these are the two requirements for her to be capable of even thinking about setting up a counterattack, because her army is actually pretty big. Her upgrades are good, and the quality of her army is fine as well. Like, we're now in that stage where she does have these 13 lurkers. If she burrows them, she doesn't have the quick burrow yet. Did she forget?
It's likely she forgot it. Like, in this kind of game, you're like usually starved on gas as well. She was starved earlier when she probably wanted to get it, and then she just decided to get it the next Viper or something instead, I assume. But yeah, now she definitely forgot it.
Okay, this prism is gonna get sniped down. That's a big deal. Some missed target fire there, actually. Tries to go for the zealot at first. Doesn't quite work out.
Yeah. It's such a huge difference of getting the prism like half a second earlier. Now she has to pull back the entire army. Now, like, she probably wants to be posturing out on the map right now, right? While Science is defensive, this is her opportunity to actually get out on the map and get a decent offensive position. But now she's basically dealing with all these zealots, and Cyan just gets to reel his bank even further, prepare his targeted transition. It's just gonna get rougher and rougher for Scarlett from here, I feel.
Yeah. It felt like Cyan was giving her a possibility there, and then Scarlett was like, that looks nice, but no, that zealot looks juicier. And now she's kind of stuck in a defensive position where she doesn't really want to be. The extra Stargates are coming out. Shield upgrades are continuing as well. And even though Cyan isn't trading well here, and he's losing a little bit too much, he still doesn't have an Oracle with his army, which all sucks. It doesn't really matter that much. He has complete map control. He's getting an army that is going to be unbeatable with the eco that Scarlett is currently on. Scarlett can't max out on Hydra Lurker. She's never going to be able to get any type of decent Corruptor count that she will need. The only way I can see her actually do something here is if she potentially gets into Microbial Shroud, maybe. This is the only solution I see. And the moment we start talking about Microbial Shroud, you know it's kind of a desperate situation for the Zerg.
Yeah, like Cyan's army isn't like the death ball army, right? But it's just good enough, and it's so much more mobile that Scarlett can't even think about moving across the map. And if you want to play late game from here, Scarlett, you need a bank. You need to be able to make Corruptors. You need to be able to remax into Corruptors after taking a fight. And it's just not in the sights right now.
We do have adaptive talents finally starting, and honestly, as long as there's not carrier starting and the cannon count isn't that high, which by the way it isn't, I still feel like the moment Scarlett can get a position on the other side of the map, it's still possible. It's still possible to get such a position with these upgrades where you can kind of trade okay against 3 carriers or 4 carriers as well, you know? But you need to be able to push away the opponent. And right now, we're talking about Scarlett moving out, but she's already having trouble defending here. Just getting caught completely out of position, kind of unnecessary. She F2'd her army to deal with some minor harass. This is painful. She's going to lose every major tech structure, and this is just going to be a recall, right?
Yeah, most likely,
Cyan doesn't really need to stay here, and he's already trading way better.
Yeah, he could probably even try to fight it out and trade out in the remax, but that's probably the worst option, but it probably might be good enough.
Yeah, I mean, he might just straight up win the game.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah. Like, it sounds silly, but this actually was the worst case scenario, and that apparently leads to straight up winning the game, because this is truly, if he loses that fight, then there might be a possibility that Scarlett moves across the map. If he just recalls, he's on 6 base with good defensive or good enough defensive setup. Scarlett has no eco left, like she'll just bleed to death basically. And now there was a tiny opportunity, but of course his army was just too big. But yeah, I completely agree there. That was a pretty nice to have as a worst case scenario.
Yeah. But I think like what this game really showed is like the difference between playing for the late game or like setting yourself up for the late game and just accidentally getting to the late game, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Like this game, Scarlett just accidentally ended up there, and she didn't really have a good enough mid game where she, like, ideally you would go up to like something like almost close to 100 drones in preparation, so you can start spamming spines on the sides, right? You can start putting some lurkers on the sides. You can have good creep spread. You can have your upgrades earlier, your Vipers earlier, and then like, because once you start taking damage from the Cyan run-bys, it gets really hard to deal with the future Cyan run-bys, right? It's just like a snowball effect. But if you clean up the first like big Cyan counterattack easily, then it gets much easier to clean up the next one on the other side. So it's like,
yeah, because you kind of start growing a defensive bank in a way where you get like your spines up, and maybe you have like you get more creep out as well. Like these are things that snowball very hard. I completely agree there. I was changing the title of my stream, so I might have missed it. But did you also mention the late lurker then?
Yeah, I mean, everything was just kind of late, right? The tech, like Evo was late, tech was late lurker then too. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, like specifically there, because at that point she already was aware that her push had failed, and we usually see the lurker then start at the same time as the hive, just because that matches up nicely. The moment the hive finishes, you can start your seismic spines or your adaptive talents, whatever you prefer. Wait, we need sort of in. Yeah. Where are you at?
You need an invite.
Yes.
My game is bugged, so if I try to join through you, I'm going to get stuck on the loading screens.
Sure.
All right.
But yeah, it's just that's extremely it's extremely rough for Scarlett. Their rough start. Well, actually, the start was pretty good, but then the follow-up push, I think she. The thing is, in a lot of situations, that's going to work. If you have someone playing Twilight, if you have someone maybe even playing single robo, that could work, right? Like, the double robo is not common at all. Like, I don't see this a lot, because it just doesn't really allow you to be as aggressive on the map. Like, it just... It forces you, basically, to kind of sit back and defend. And if the Zerg drones up very heavily and just keep spreading creep, you're going to be stuck on 4 bases for a long time. It's difficult to expand forward.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I was...
it felt like that game, like Scarlett didn't really have a plan of what she wanted to do, right? She just wanted to... It felt like she was kind of just expecting Cyan to all in her. Mm-hmm. And then she was just kind of making roaches to survive. But then the all-in... Like, she kind of defended the depth all-in, but it wasn't really that committed, right? And then she just had these roaches, and then she's like, okay, well, I guess I gotta hide her now. And then we kind of ended up in this super weird game where she kind of had to attack because she had no economy, no tech.
I agree that she kind of had to at least break the 4th base, but after she did that, I don't think it was necessary to walk up that ramp. Like, it became clear pretty quick that that wasn't going to be the call after like 2 disruptors killed 9 to 10 hydras. I mean, you can kind of feel it coming at that point. Once again, out of Cyan, we're gonna have a quick scout here. Cyan, of course, in the bottom left, red Protoss, and Scarlett top right in the blue. I assume most of the guys in my audience are going to be capable to figure out that one. Yeah. Scarlett, of course, is a Zerg. Cyan is a Toss.
Like the main difference with like Roach Hydra and like Roach or Hydraling Baning or something like that is just that Roach Hydra, once there's splash from the Protoss, that army just becomes so useless, right? Because the entire strength of like Roach Hydra is having your entire army in a ball and just being able to like clear all the Zealots and clear all the Archons super fast, right? But as soon as you splash, you have to start splitting your army, and then it just becomes so much worse, right?
The Hydra is actually one of the best DPS units if it doesn't need to move.
Yeah.
Like, it attacks extremely fast, but of course it is, well, I don't want to say it, but it kind of is a glass cannon. Slow HP, it dies easily, so the moment that meat shield of the Roach disappears, or like you say, you need to start kiting and you need to start splitting, you're just continuously losing damage output. which you can't really afford to lose if you're playing against, a massive Protoss army that is this death ball-like army, which really is reminiscent of how a lot of Tosses played probably in the beta of Wings of Liberty, with that Void Ray Colossus style, right? Yeah. Before the Zergs back then figured out that perhaps a spell that does infinite damage, cast instantly, and holds everything in place is a pretty decent counter. But,
to everything.
To everything, yeah. Of course, talking about fungal growth there. That's way behind us here. We have a better state of the game now, luckily. Once
again, Cyan going for the exact same opener, the Warp Gate into Stargate after the pylon block. But this time not actually showing, or is he going to show the third pylon?
Well, I mean, third pylon, I hope not. It is such a weird position as well for a third pylon. It doesn't really have any purpose to be next to the... Like, if people are going to Baneling bust, then most of the time they're not going to be able to take out that pylon anyway. And if they do, then you kind of deserve to lose. I mean, they first need to bust through a gateway and a unit. Like, it's going to be rough enough. You see the second gateway go down at the appropriate time as well. So, basically, for the people that are not aware... right now we have Cyan faking the old 4-gate glaive build, and that always opened with Adept Stalker, very fast Warp Gate. Once again, that weird pylon.
Yeah.
The fast 4-gate glaive went into Twilight, then Robo, and the third pylon always was delayed till after the third and fourth gateway. That's why we're focusing so much on this weird pylon, because he's trying to make Scarlett think a certain thing, but then he shows something that should allow Scarlett to figure out, hey, this is not that at all. So it's kind of ruining his own mind game. Once again, Scarlett though doing a fantastic job with these links, seeing everything, and even forcing out a 25 energy investment from the Oracle, trying to take out a link. But Scarlett is on top mechanically today, sort of. I don't think we can complain about that.
Yeah, for sure. She's always just been super fast, super clean with her mechanics. Losing one drone, but that's acceptable, I think. But we'll see if this Oracle can find more damage later on, as it's out of energy right now. But I wanted to ask you what you think about, because some people, when they do this they're faking the 4-gate and they go into Stargate, they like to save up for 2 Oracles and then like hit a little bit later as a bigger surprise. What do you think about that compared to this just like one Oracle going straight across the map?
I kind of like that. The only problem is that the moment you take your third base, in that case, it still should be clear what's happening for the Zerg. So in order to truly sell that mind game, you also need to delay your third. And if then the queens are in position, because you already have no information of where the queens are, you're actually just kind of in a worse spot than you'd usually be. So I like just sending in the first Oracle. I don't completely mind. It's more of a gamble if you save up 2 Oracles. We have actually for Adept Shade, and I kind of missed that as I was paying attention to the Void Ray. 3 workers going down already. There's no links currently on the map. 14 are being produced. This is gonna cost Scarlett 6-7 drones here, if not more. She's a bit slow on the pool there. 8 workers.
And she already lost like 8 links as well. Now she has to remake even more. Like, this is a lot of like indirect damage as well, right? Not only drones lost, but Larva lost in making more links, and the Oracle comes in as well.
Oh, and another Shade finishes up. So she's being toyed with right here by our Chinese Protoss player, who said he was a little bit nervous in the first lobby, but it isn't really showing, as his unit control has been top notch here in this game. Oracle taking a lot of damage, does survive. Now his build here, once again, I don't quite understand it. Why are we seeing these fast 4-gates? Is he afraid of a Roach Queen push? What is this? I don't quite know. He's not going to be following this up with a second Stargate though. We're seeing Robo, Forge, Twilight. There's going to be a long period here at which Scarlett doesn't need to be afraid of anything. As I say that, of course, 5 Adept Shade in, which I completely missed again on the map. And so did Scarlett. So another thing me and Scarlett have in common.
Yeah, I'm not like, I think just after the initial links got cleaned up, and we talked about this in the pre-game, is just that Scarlett's scouting can be a little bit lacking, right? And I feel like in this case, like after the Oracle cleaned up the first couple of links, she never sent out any new ones, and she just kind of assumed that Cyan was going to do the meta, right? But you don't really go for these adept pushes.
Yeah.
But yeah, she just didn't have any spotters for it, and then if you don't see the adepts coming at all, then for adept shading and you don't have enough Zerglings to fight it, then it gets really awkward, right?
Yeah.
Especially if your queens are away to summon out the oracles and stuff like that. And just She ended up taking way too much damage from the first one, which made it so the second one could go across the map for free because she still wasn't scouting during all this.
Yeah.
And yeah, now we're in this position where she is quite far behind. But
yeah,
compared to the last game though, she has a faster fourth base, faster tech, faster evo. So there's no timing this game, but I feel like that might be good for Scarlett almost.
Always look on the bright side of life, eh, Ricky? Faster forward base than last game. Yeah, she's going to be facing a +1 blink attack here, and she's playing Swarmos, which also isn't quite ideal because it means that Cyan's going to be very aggressively on the map. He has a lot of force fields here. I don't think there's even enough roaches yet to truly even contest Cyan moving on the creep here. I mean, if your army consists of pure Swarmos roach, and you're equal in supply, that's an extremely bad sign because both of these units tend to inflate the supply of the Zerg by a lot of... like 200-200 in Swarmhost Roach is way worse than any regular 200-200 army, whether that's of a Protoss or of a Zerg player. Now the force fields here aren't exactly perfect, and this first trade actually went a lot better for Scarlett than I thought it would be. Cyan also isn't aware of that left side fort base, so perhaps there is some future here for Scarlett.
Cyan accidentally just killed his Oracle, I think. Or was it his Prism? He killed something with his...
His Oracle is gone. And his Prism is almost done, so I don't think it was the Prism.
I thought it was his Oracle then, yeah. Yeah, the whole thing about playing this Swarmers things is just usually like you want momentum, right? Because you want to be able to get across the map with the Swarmers right away. Like defensively, Swarmers are kind of ass. You want them on the other side like as soon as possible and start using the first wave aggressively. But here she's forced defensive. And Cyan is maybe pushing the issue a little bit too much, but as long as he's keeping Scarlett at home, I think he'll be happy.
The thing that Cyan... yeah, he's pushing way too hard here. I don't think he needs to do this at all. The thing he just wants to do is just sit outside and grow his army in supply side. Because what I said earlier is just true. The moment he gets a 200-200 army, he's going to be fighting so freaking well. And sure, he's in a very good spot, and sure, he's ahead, so maybe he can finish here, but it's also completely possible that he will start bleeding out units, and the moment Scarlett gets some momentum with this army, and as a Protoss player you dip below 110, 120 supply, it could be very freaking tricky. Another blink forward here coming out of Cyan. Swarm hosts are being used here, but these trades aren't quite as good for Cyan as you would expect of someone with the early game that he had. And he's actually gonna get pushed back. This unit's lost is relatively equal to the Zerg, and if you're building roaches, you're gonna be happy to see it. I think Scarlett is moving too far now though. So she completely... What did she do here?
Yeah, she overextended here a bit for sure. I'm not sure she quite realizing how the position she was in. But the Swarmers are going across the map right now, so if she can hold on, these could potentially snipe the third base.
Yeah, but this seems so risky. She was doing such a good job. Just now her Swarmhost micro is lacking a little bit as well. Not all Swarmhosts are even used, and now this was a giant error in decision making coming out of Scarlett. For what I feel like is the second time in 2 games now, earlier moving up into that ramp, and now after having a miraculous defense, kind of throwing all that hard work out of the window. Now the game of course is not over yet, as you see Cyan backs himself into a corner. He is trying to take out the fort base as well at the same time, and as long as these Swarmhosts stay alive, there might still be a possibility, but Swarmhost after Swarmhost right now is getting sniped. Cyan at 101 supply though, holy crap.
Stalkers is kind of like a roach, I feel, in this matchup, where like they can be very good, but they fall off so fast, and like at some point you just become very useless, right? And like in these kind of fights, when you're going for these pushes with the sentry stalker pushes, like once there's like 6-7 Ravagers, you can't really ever engage into it, right? Like the only way you have to engage into it is to blink forward, which doesn't ever feel nice, right? Unless you're already like winning the game really hard. So I feel like, yeah, maybe Cyan overcommitted a little bit there. Scarlett not reacting perfectly on the defense either. I'm not sure like where this situation we get in is actually pretty even, I feel.
Yeah, so I would agree with you, except for the fact that there's a fort base up already for Cyan. If that wasn't the case here, I would say this is okay. But right now, Cyan's going up to 8 gas. If that isn't the case, he's going to struggle to get out the Templar Archives and get Templar for feedback and storm on the Vipers. Sure, his supply isn't looking as hot, but he has good eco, and his tech seems to be absolutely fine. So
Yeah.
As long as he doesn't get caught off guard by the Swarm Host, I think he's actually still in a pretty decent sized lead. Even though the supply might not necessarily show that. Look at that hatch, by the way.
Oh! That was one away. One swipe.
One swipe.
Yeah, I'm a bit surprised. Scarlett just spent all her gas into Ravagers again, and I feel like the time for Ravagers have kind of passed. They're very nice versus the like Stalker Sentry pushes, but like once you get into this point, like once you have Hive, you would rather save your gas for Vipers or Lurkers, I feel. But just again, no Hydrodon. So she's just playing Swarm Host Ravager Viper, which I feel like is just gonna get hard countered by High Templar, right?
Yeah, but this is a good Locust wave here. This one has potential. She should go for the army here. She's going to be able to get one Colossus immediately. Super Battery is being activated. Only's going to go get one Colossi. Second Archon, the targeting there was split across 2 Archons. Otherwise, I think one of them would have fallen. Yeah. That was a very good wave, though. And Cyan's map vision isn't quite as good on that left side, or wasn't quite as good. Right now, once again, he's pushing on the map, but Vipers are out. Cyan needs to be careful. He is very trigger happy with these pushes. A little bit too trigger happy, in my opinion, at times.
Yeah, he doesn't know about the Vipers yet, but once he realizes Vipers, he needs to make sure that he has Templars at the front of his army.
Yeah. If he loses the 2 Colossi here, and Scarlett can hold this without using a Swarm Host wave, there is potential for a counter-attack, either on the 3rd or on the 4th base, where Cyan might just lose a base. This is...
I feel like if Cyan just gets close to 200 supply, I feel like his army is just going to steamroll Scarlett's with Swarm Host Ravager, which is like the most, like you talked about earlier, supply-heavy composition in the game. There's no real meat to this army. It's like once the Locust Wave is gone, there's like, 10 Ravagers maybe that can actually fight.
Yeah.
So it's quite scary, I feel, for Scarlett.
Yeah.
One more Warping and we're getting to the 200 supply, right?
Right. I would agree, except that Cyan doesn't know about the Vipers yet. The moment he sees the Vipers, he should kind of go back and wait until he gets Templar. Okay, this was not the greatest show of the Viper. I understand that Scarlett feels she's on a massive clock, but the Vipers needed to do more. We have a good wave once again, by the way. Man, Scarlett, her unit movement, except bar that one little mistake, has been absolutely fantastic with these Swarm Hosts. Holy crap, this is a free base, and I'm not sure if Cyan can push into it. I mean, there's blinding clouds. This is a choky area. I don't think he can actually push into this that easily.
Yeah, I think the way he would want to do it, if he wants to push, is just to make a huge concave and come from multiple sides.
Yeah.
The Zealots on the Swarm Hosts. The exposed Swarm Hosts.
Yeah, the cooldown is almost up though, and these Zealots might just die.
At the same time, he goes in at the 4th base. He gets the 4th base. Yeah, it's... The problem with Scarlett's army is it's very hard to actually split it efficiently, right?
Yeah. This is why usually you see people get a lot of spines, but because... Well, actually, she had a crap ton of money in the bank right now. She just didn't build them. I guess she just wanted to wait for a remax on Roaches, but doesn't actually have the larva for that either. See a couple of Vipers.
Good control.
Yeah, it's good control, but... I mean, the Swarmos are all down now. +3 is about to finish up, and holy crap, Cyan is not controlling this perfectly, by the way. He's losing a lot of Zealots for free, but Scarlett's floating like 4k resources, 4.5k resources.
Scarlett had like 40 larva hits, so she could stay like backed out non-stop. She might have actually been able to win this game.
Yeah.
But